Hey everyone, welcome back to another session. I love the energy. So hey everyone, say hi to Doug. Doug is with a company called Unific, and we're going to talk about customer cultivation specifically in e-commerce. Welcome to the summit, Doug, and we are excited to hear how Unific is powering up HubSpot.
All right, thank you, thank you. So my turn. I'm ready.
We are your turn.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. I have a little presentation. Um, Give me 1 second. Do-do-do. And we're here. All right, make sure everybody see very well. Great, thank you. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So thanks for joining the session, and it's about customer cultivation, like we talked about. And it's about what we believe to be the key to achieving predictable, sustainable growth in e-commerce. I'm going to do a quick introduction here. Name is Doug Dotz, Director of Professional Services and Analytics. Been combining e-commerce specific growth tools with inbound methodology to deliver, an outsized impact on merchants for quite a while, for about 4 years. So a bit about Unific. Unific is one of the top e-commerce focused partners. We have an agency as well as the Connect tool where we're going to do our cultivation platform. And we do something a little bit different. Rather than on the traditional agency retainer model, we sort of help make merchants by doing one-off analytics projects and help giving them a focus so that they can take it back to their marketing teams. And here's a quick thing. Here's our customer cultivation platform. Like we talked about, we have multiple tools like e-commerce data sync, unique coupon code, and dynamic segments. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get back into the session. So a brief overview of what we're covering today. I'm trying to be detailed enough to cover the topic, but high level enough so we don't run out of time. And something unique, I would say, before you leave this session, you'll be able to start your own successful farm. So you're welcome for that. Here we're doing. Going to start with the history behind the concept, why every business person is also a farmer, what is the customer cultivation methodology, what is the methodology to achieve, the core customer percentage, proper revenue distribution, the retention spectrum, and how you can get started today. So here, let's go ahead and get started, hop right into it. Boom. So the original problem. So my team has worked with hundreds of merchants, many shapes and sizes, over the years, and we found that the biggest challenge has always been focus. And it's not that they can't focus on their job, but they can't focus on one specific tactic. And so they're jumping from tactic to tactic, that they read online that supposed to transform their business overnight. They talk to another friend or what have you. They're trying to find quicker and quicker results. Or they're trying to replicate the success of a breakout company or breakout star that has the rare perfect product market. And quite often that's just not successful. We want to figure out why. Most of the time people are drowning in data without the skills or the knowledge to use to make better decisions. So it's hard to sift through the noise, not just for marketers, but for everybody. The internet is basically endless opinions with some facts mixed in here and there. So logically, where do you try to turn? You can trust your own data, right? But who has the time to gain a completely new skill set in data analysis while managing their day-to-day work? It's being creative, focusing on the strategy, what have you. And then, of course, there's all these tools that promise insight and understanding, but they end up being just pretty graphs and pretty charts. So of course, since nobody has the time, why don't they have the time? I found that most people are wearing too many hats. Whether they're on a small team or within a large organization, they're still on a small team within that organization. And so they have too much stuff to do, and I've yet to meet a fully staffed marketing team. Maybe because I'm not cool enough to work with enterprise clients, but in the SMB space, I've yet to meet a fully staffed marketing team. So regardless of the org, they're trying to reach that inflection point, and at that inflection point, they can bring in reinforcements for growth. E-commerce marketers, they're stressed. Business owners are stressed. Everybody's stressed. It's stress. The pandemic, it saw an exponential growth in e-commerce activity, but it saw an exponential growth in e-commerce competition. So, for example, one of our clients pre-pandemic, they had 20 competitors in this space. And a couple months ago, they let us know that there's now over 460 different companies in their space in 12 months. And that's like almost impossible growth from a very unique situation. So all of the brands that we know of have been scrambling to try to keep the attention of their customers and keep those purchasing coming in, with there's so many distractions out there, so many other options. And when you look online, you ask them like, how do I do better? How do I do better? Everyone talks about being data driven. So people try to go to the numbers, but this time, like, what are the numbers really telling us? Like, we're asking the questions: how many visitors are getting to the site? Cool. How many conversions are we getting? Cool. There's no real insights, and it's not really telling us of what can we do next. So we asked the question: what are we missing? What are they missing? What is the industry missing? And step back, is like, all right, what are the questions we're supposed to be asking to actually find out what we're missing? So we went to the basics, and we thought, what is the best type of customer for an e-commerce business? Any business, really. So I'm going to give a second to see what the chat says. What do you guys think? One who spends money? Yes. that is one of the best. Someone who's ready to buy. Self-sufficient. Loyal. Okay, we're getting close. Quickly. All right, so we're going to piece all that together. We're going to active, high lifetime value, repeat buyers. And so what an active, high lifetime value repeat buyer is, sounds great. It's somebody who has purchased recently. They have purchased a lot, and they purchase continuously. And that's different when you come to e-commerce. Most people say, I just want a buyer. I just want a repeat buyer. I just want somebody to spend money. But when you think about it, in order to grow a sustainable business, you have to have customers continue to come back. So you get that compound effect of, you have your same customers that are purchasing, you get new customers that continue to purchase, and they grow on top of each other. So this concept sounded really familiar to me. And no news here, nothing new. We connected some dots that haven't really been connected before for our customers. So who else is particularly obsessed with getting repeat buyers, increasing LTV? The SaaS industry. So the SaaS industry is so obsessed, with good reason, of course, that they developed a new concept called customer success. And I'm sure all of you have heard about customer success. It's everywhere. So for those that actually don't know the exact definition, customer success is a business methodology of ensuring customers achieve their desired outcomes while using our product and service. So quick data in, effective customer success strategy typically results in decreased customer churn and increased upsell opportunities. So when we think about that, customer success is traditionally for subscriptions on software. But when you think about e-commerce, for the right product groups, repeat buyers are just subscribers without the contract. And the same tactics that it takes to get people to continue to purchase are the same tactics that it's going to take to get people to keep people from canceling their contract. So with that in mind, we thought, like, okay, that makes sense. How can we look at e-commerce businesses as subscribers without the contract, and how can we look at those, keep those subscribers subscribed? And in the customer success methodology, subscribers stay subscribed when they're getting the value/outcomes that they're looking for. That means people will continue to purchase if they continue to get the value, and you continue to deliver the value from the product that they're looking for. Of course, unless you're in a niche that has zero competition, then congratulations, have a good time. But that was our first revelation. Customer success needs to come to the e-commerce industry, and not just, hey, everybody start a subscription business, get contracts, and get that money. We have to take the methodology of getting those repeat purchases coming in. So we have a bit of conundrum, though. Even in the industry as dependent upon renewals as SaaS, there are companies who don't actually understand customer success and know how to make it work. So how could we distill this concept into something that's easily accessible for the masses, not just for experts who have gone and got certifications and spent 20 years in this industry? So with that, let's talk about value, and let's talk about why you're a farmer. Knowing value is tough. Knowing your value is tough. Knowing your value is even tougher for traditional e-commerce businesses who typically sell physical products, and they have very limited ways of getting feedback and knowing what's going on. So we thought, like, okay, we have two problems we need to solve. We need to distill a concept that is abstract, even for people in the industry, into something that somebody can understand. And we have to teach them how to understand their value. And we thought, all right, we need to connect this to a story. Everybody loves stories. And if you anchor something to a story, then it'll stick much quicker. We all have childhood fairy tales. We all have things that we see on TV, and we remember the story. We don't remember the details, but remember the gist. And I'd be willing to bet that if you guys remember nothing else from this session, you're going to remember that you're a farmer. So I'm going to make a story here. And I found that everyone at least has an understanding or an awareness of what it takes to grow a plant. And that's, it takes the right amount of sun, water, fertilizer, what have you. And so who, of course, is best at growing plants? Farmers. So farmers want to grow their crops to the highest capacity so they can harvest and get profit. Just like business want to grow their customers' LTV to the highest capacity so they can get the biggest profits. Now that we've sort of set this foundation here, let's dig to how starting a successful crop every year is like starting a successful business. Step one, we have to choose our crop selection. So we're about to get into a little bit of the nitty gritty of start a farm, how to start a business. Of course, I've missed some steps. I probably added too many steps, but you guys will get the point. So with step one in crop selection, you have to compare the different prices of different crops. You have to determine the market demand and the potential sale of the crop. You have to determine the budget required and the feasibility considering the climate and the quality. And you have to see how productive is this crop with compared to the other alternatives. When you choose your initial industry, you have to compare the relative pricing of the products in the industry to gauge if it's going to be profitable. You have to see the total market demand and sales volume in the industry. You have to determine your startup cost. You have to see if the growth of this industry is comparable to other growth in other industries. We want step two. You got to select your seeds. You got to figure out if the price and quantity needed on the seed per acre is going to make it profitable. What is the average yield per seed that you're going to sow? What's the water requirement? How resistant are they to diseases? When you talk about, connecting your target market within your industry, how many actual customers are there in the market? Is there more customers than there is supply? How much should you expect each customer to spend? And do customers show a particular brand affinity where you can bring them over to you? We got to move on to sowing here. Well, I think I skipped something actually. Boom, yeah, skipped one. Sorry, step three, land preparation and products too. So land preparation. Fertilizers need to be put into the land to make sure that when the seeds get to it, it has all the right nutrients to grow. You have to figure out the land layout and design of the field to make sure that it's best for the efficient irrigation. You have to figure out the latest techniques for plowing your field and leveling your field to make sure that it costs well. Same thing with business. You have to choose the right pricing strategy for the products. Choose what you'll be selling. You have to create a strong website for them to purchase. You have to choose the tools and the operation to support the business. Have somewhere so that when the seeds show up, they'll actually be able to take root and grow. Now we're going to talk about that take rooting. When you sow the seeds, you have to pick the appropriate time. You have to pick the appropriate weather conditions, the best method of sowing. You have to figure out how deep you sow. Same thing with customer acquisition. You got to pick your channels. You have to pick the strategies. You have to pick the traffic. What are you going to promote? What type of messaging you're going to use to make sure that when you can bring people to that land and have it actually take fruit. Talking about now, we're getting into the actual cultivation of the crop. The right interventions needed to maintain the expected growth. You have to know the frequency, quantity, and timing for plowing, weeding, and fertilization. Same thing on the business side. You have to know your customer experience. How you're going to send emails, your social media engagement, your knowledge-based lifecycle campaigns, customer support. Are you cultivating that relationship and growing those seeds? And after you do all of that hard work on both sides, you can harvest and you're doing profits. So, does everybody know that they are a farmer now? Natalie knows she's a farmer. Thank you, Christine. Yes. So we're all farmers. And even though we may not realize it, we take seeds, we plant them, and we have to grow them by giving them the right amount of nutrients and combination of things in order to grow. So let's hop on. In summary, what does this take to be successful? So I hope I've illustrated that starting a business is a lot like growing a successful crop. So the knowledge needed to get the most fruitful yield out of your crop is similar to knowledge needed the most ROI out of your customer base. And that knowledge is the understanding of the right inputs for that particular customer that will cause them to grow to their full potential. But it's not a one-size-fits-all strategy. So each seed or customer needs its own mix of nutrients or engagement in order to reach that maximum value to the business. And that's where we came up with customer cultivation. And so customer cultivation is a mindset that helps online merchants achieve stable, predictable growth by consistently providing value to customers and achieve mutually beneficial outcomes. And of course, we hopped on the flywheel bandwagon with HubSpot because it makes sense. You know, when you focus on attracting, cultivating, and retaining your core customers, each piece of that flywheel builds up in momentum, and that velocity of growth really increases. What does all this mean? All this jargon mean? It broken down into clear steps. You know, businesses take the time to understand the value / outcome that a customer is searching for when they make a purchase. They focus their efforts on finding the customers who actually need and want that value, and then create an experience oriented around consistently delivering that value throughout the whole customer relationship. We talked a little bit about core customers. Like, who are your core customers? So your core customers are those that resonate the most with your value proposition, those that buy most frequently and have the highest lifetime revenue. The customer we talked about earlier about the favorite brand, the favorite of the e-commerce brand. So finding these people might seem like a lot of work, but in reality, even if your business is somewhat successful, you have a set of core customers. So you can work backwards. And of course, everything takes a proper analysis to actually get done, but I want to give you something you can actually do. So to get into a ballpark on who the core customer is, you find your average, average total number of orders across your customer base, your average to total number of total value of orders across your customer base, and then you look at everybody who is above average for both the total number of orders and the total value of orders purchased in the last 90 days. So, like I said, to get it completely accurate, you'll want to do the analysis, what have you, but that'll give you a ballpark so you can sort of get to understanding who these customers are. So here's an example. Rolly is one of our first customers who hopped on the customer cultivation bandwagon. And Rolly sells shoes. They sell really good shoes, but shoes nonetheless. And if there's ever a saturated market, it's online shoe sales. But Rolly does something different. They sell an experience. So Rolly Nation's target market is creatives in any industry who like to express themselves visually, including through what they wear. So what Rolly did is created a customer experience that lets people know on their website that they're free to express themselves however you want, and our shoes help them do that. They have a very high repeat purchase rate. And the reason being is that every time somebody thinks of expressing themselves and they've been a customer of Rolly Nation is one of their first stops to get those shoes and get that apparel. So it's customer cultivation in a nutshell there. It's like they deliver the value that the customers are looking for, and so the customers keep keep coming back. What's unique is that customers aren't coming to Rolly to buy shoes. They're coming to buy a freedom of expression. And it took them a little bit, testing, talking to customers, doing photo shoots, or what have you, to figure it out. But they're not trying to sell shoes. They're trying to sell freedom. And this is a bit of their about us, their promo is at the end, it says, "We are free, we are enemies of gravity." Creatives. So we couldn't stop there. If you have a methodology we talked about, there's two issues. One, to distill the methodology to something that people can understand. And the other is that we need to give merchants a way to focus. And we come up with 3 pillars. And these 3 pillars we came up with after working with a lot of merchants, testing to see what was impactful, what was not impactful, what actually worked, what didn't work. So we came up with three things: core customer percentage, revenue distribution, and core customer retention spectrum. So let's dig into those. Your core customer percentage. This is simply a ratio of core customers that we talked about earlier to the population. And we have a benchmark. So the benchmark we developed based on analyzing multiple stores and figuring out what worked well for the best stores and worked least good. And disclaimer, the benchmark is relative. Some products are never going to get past good, while others should never fall below best. So at the same time, the more your product lends itself to repeat purchases, the better the chance is that you're going to get that core customer percentage there. We look here, we have good at 30%, better at 40%, best at 50%. So give you a prime example. If you have a supplements company and that supplements company sell 30-day doses, in general, you should be above 50% if your supplement is any good. But let's say you have a fashion apparel company that's so much competition, you should shoot for 30% and be happy and be fine with that. Revenue distribution. So this might be the most abstract concept for people to grasp. It's essentially calling out revenue dependence. And we'll just show through a prime example. Customers had 3% of their customer base producing 75% of their revenue. And this is not an exaggeration. This is actually what happened. So when you look at that, if you lose 1% out of that 3%, which is very likely because customer churn in e-commerce is pretty high, you've lost 5% of your revenue. That is a recipe for disaster. So the thought is that we're checking to make sure that your revenue is properly distributed across your customer base so that any churn or any loss doesn't hurt you that bad. A retention spectrum. Now, this is a deeper way of looking at the churn. And once again, you can get an actual calculation on this, but to help you out, sort of give you a guesstimation, you calculate your average days between orders in your store, and then you get with the active customers are within that range, drifting are 30 to 60 days outside of that range, churn risk are 60 to 120 days outside, and losses 120 days plus. So it gives you a chance to, rather than looking at your customers in black and white, active, lost, there's multiple ways that you can talk to them and sort of bring them back into the fold before you lose them. So it's a rough calculation, but it gives you an idea of how it's done. These are the 3 pillars of customer cultivation. And these are meant to give you a guiding post to help you focus. There's all types of tactics, all types of things that you have, but we believe that these will show you how well you're doing or not doing as it goes to your growing your customer base. So what can you do to get started? 1, know your value. So take a crack at determining what people value from your product, what they're looking to solve, what they're trying to gain, what they're trying to receive from making your purchase. Then find your core customers through that rough calculation that we talked about and or doing the analysis, and ask them if they agree with your assumption or not. And if they don't agree, really ask them, why do you buy? What value do you get from continuing to purchase from me? Do some experiments in messaging around that value and changing how you're positioning your products in your paid traffic, your product descriptions, or what have you, and see if you start to gain more high quality customers. And then you have a decent amount of confidence. Start to orient your business around delivering an exceptional experience, focus on that value, and really focus on increasing that flywheel and growing those core customers. Of course, here's the sales. Get your free customer segment report today if you're online store trying to find your core customers. And if you are an agency partner, learn how we can use it to help you focus your efforts. Thank you. That was my presentation, and I'm going to stop sharing now and have a little bit of Q&A.
Alrighty, awesome. That was amazing. Thank you so much. We have a couple of questions here. Let's see. Ivan is asking, what is the role of loyalty programs? I am trying to logic and mechanic for a loyalty program based on HubSpot scoring, calculating properties. Any ideas?
So, loyalty programs are part of the customer cultivation part of, you have attract, cultivate, retain. That would be the retain part. And it gives people ways to promote and find more value out of your product and it create that good experience. So that's one of the tactics that you could use in order to increase your retention in your platform.
Awesome. What happens when a large number of customers resonate with your values and you have limited capacity to nurture them? Does it all boil down to how much they can spend?
I would say there's 3 types of ways you can do it. When we talked about retention methods, there's one-to-one, there's one-to-many, and then there's tech touch. That's where the marketing automation sort of comes in. You sort of build in products and build in programs so that you can talk to a bunch of people at once without you having to actually type fingers and send emails. It's scaling out with technology rather than people. I would start So if you might have noticed, inside your core customers, there's actually 3 different types. There's champions, big spenders, and there's loyalists. If you have a lot of people that resonate, we're going to focus on the champions, and that's always less than 5% of any population. And we're going to talk to them and then work our way outwards from that point. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I'm typing the link to your website, guys, here in the chat. So check out everyone, Unific. Martha is saying thank you. So remember, our goal here is to have at least one takeaway for every session. So Doug, what would be one takeaway that you think, if you had to pick one, I know that there is a lot, what would you recommend, the lowest hanging fruit for people to implement?
I think the lowest hanging fruit is to understand the value of your customer base. Like, people quite often, they sell something because it makes money, but that's not why people are purchasing from you. Try to understand why they're purchasing from you, what it does for their life, how does it keep them happy. Then from there, you have so much more insight into your marketing strategy, your product positioning strategy, and what you're doing, because you know why people are coming for you, and you can find more people that need that.
Ramesh is asking, for B2B SaaS companies, is there a way to predict customer churn within HubSpot?
There's not an easy way. That's where that deeper analysis that we talked about comes into play, where you sort of look at what's happening across the customer base and look at the retention spectrum, because that's the whole purpose of the retention spectrum in itself, is that most of the time people look at active and then boom, you're churned. But if you can look at active, then look at drifting, then look at churn risk, and then loss, you now have 4 stages in order to recover this person, rather than only one, active and then gone. And the good thing about that is that we try to make it relative to the actual customer store. So it's not like a benchmark that, oh, churn happens at this date for everybody in the space. That's why you're looking at your own particular average days between orders and seeing how people are outside of that, so you can see how your actual performance is happening there. So looking at your churn as 4 stages instead of 1 gives you a lot more opportunity to recover and sort of see things going out of whack before they become lost.
Awesome. We have 2 minutes left. So if anyone feels super brave, you can go ahead and raise your hand and just ask your question live. That would be awesome. I know that the previous session, I invited a couple of people to just come here and ask their questions live. And they're like, I'm PJ, so please don't. But hey, if you're still extra brave, feel free to raise your hand and I'll bring you here to talk to our expert Doug here. But hey, if we don't have anyone, and I'm still waiting for someone to raise their hand, if you are feeling brave, any last parting words?
I guess my last parting words is, all of you guys are farmers, so take the time to understand what your seeds need to grow.
Awesome. All righty. Well, thank you, everyone. I will see you shortly in another session. Check out unific.com. I dropped the link here in the chat. Doug, thank you so much. It was fun connecting with you, and I look forward to chatting really soon.
Thank you. Everybody have a great day.
Bye.
Natalie, how do
I am going to kick you out. Don't worry.
for kicking me out.
Hold on, this is taking a while to kick you out, so you can just close the window.
Close the tab.
I am actually trying to end the session and it's not working. Airmeet usually works 9 out of 10, 99% out of 100, let's say, 99 out of 10, 99 out of 100. And this one, it's like, I'm ending the session and we're all still here.